The first clue wasn't a body. It was a backpack. A little girl had left it on a city bus. The next morning, her mother called the transit authority asking if anyone had turned it in. An employee checked the lost and found room. The backpack was there. The strange part was that it had been logged 6 days earlier. The mother insisted that was impossible. Her daughter had carried it to school the day before. The employee apologized, assuming it was a paperwork error. Nobody thought much of it. Until 3 weeks later, a construction worker reported his wallet missing after riding the subway home. He cancelled his cards, replaced his ID, and figured it was gone forever. 2 days later, transit staff found it in the lost and found office. According to the inventory tag, it had been sitting there for nearly 2 months. Again, the dates made no sense. Employees blamed an old computer system, but the mistakes kept happening. Items were appearing before they had supposedly been lost. Phones, jackets, suitcases, even car keys. The transit authority hired an auditor to investigate. Her name was Denise Carter, a former detective known for spotting patterns other people missed. She spent days comparing inventory logs to police reports. By the end of the week, she noticed something disturbing. Several of the misplaced items belonged to people who had later been reported missing. Not all of them, but enough to stand out. She brought her findings to the police. At first, detectives were skeptical. Lost property and missing people didn't seem connected. Still, they checked. Out of 37 suspicious entries, 9 belonged to people who had vanished within days of losing those belongings. 9 wasn't a coincidence. The investigation shifted to the lost and found office itself. Only 4 employees had regular access. 3 had worked there for years without incident. The 4th had been hired 18 months earlier. His name was Patrick Sloan, 45. Quiet, dependable, never late. Co-workers described him as forgettable. The kind of employee nobody paid attention to because he never gave them a reason to. Detectives reviewed security footage. Patrick never appeared to do anything unusual. He sorted umbrellas, logged purses, sacked boxes. Then one investigator slowed the footage down. Every evening, just before closing, Patrick selected one unclaimed item and set it aside instead of shelving it. Always one item, always belonging to someone who had recently used public transit alone. Police began following him. For nearly 2 weeks, nothing happened. He worked, went home, repeated the same routine. Then, one Friday night, detectives watched him leave work carrying a small paper bag. Inside was a cell phone that had been turned in earlier that afternoon. They stopped him before he reached his car. A warrant was executed on his apartment. It looked ordinary. Books on shelves, a television playing quietly, a refrigerator full of groceries. Nothing immediately suspicious. Then investigators searched his computer. Instead of photographs or journals, they found spreadsheets. Rows of dates, transit routes, times, descriptions of lost property, not records of crimes, records of opportunity. Detectives believed Patrick used the belongings to learn about their owners. A work ID revealed where someone was employed. Gym keys suggested routines. Prescription bottles showed names and addresses. A child's backpack identified which parent would come looking. He wasn't collecting souvenirs. He was collecting information. The evidence linked him to several disappearances spanning more than a decade. Some victims were eventually found. Others never were. During the trial, prosecutors asked why he worked in lost and found for so many years. Patrick leaned back in his chair and answered quietly, "People tell you everything without saying a word." He was sentenced to life in prison. The transit authority completely overhauled its lost and found procedures. New cameras, new staff, new security measures. Today, thousands of forgotten items still pass through that office every year. Umbrellas, wallets, backpacks, phones, most are eventually reunited with their owners. But longtime employees still remember the case. Now, whenever something valuable comes in, they try to return it immediately. Because they never forgot what one detective said after the investigation ended, sometimes the most dangerous person isn't the one following you. It's the one who already knows where you'll be looking next.